Well, hello there. Today, I'll be reviewing another value-oriented broadcast-style dynamic microphone, the SE Dynacaster DCM6. And the DCM6 is the bigger brother to the DCM3, which normally sells for $149, the 6, not the 3. But it's on sale right now for 99 bucks, so here we are, and I'm going to give it a go. It's essentially the same mic as the DCM3, but the 6 has a built-in preamp called the Dynamite preamp with 30 dBs of gain, so you do not need a Fethead or similar preamp to boost it, as you might with other lower sensitivity dynamic mics such as this one. It's 2025 and this mic was released about 2 years ago in 23. I did buy the DCM6 with my own moolah. I received no money for this review or any kind of compensation, so all the opinions and BS contained within are my own. Without further delay, let's get into it. Okay, now we're on the DCM6 with the preamp unengaged, and I have the mic mounted to a Rode DS2 stand and connected to my SSL2 interface, and I have the gain set to about 8 out of 10. I will boost the audio in post, and I'll put that info on the screen right now. I will not EQ or compress this audio, so what you're hearing on the video can be considered the raw sound of the DCM6. I will say that even with the preamp unengaged, this mic is pretty sensitive for a dynamic mic. Seems a little bit hotter than a Rode Podmic, for example. And I can't remember the last time I was getting this kind of output on a unboosted dynamic microphone. It's pretty nice. So let's do a quick rundown of the specs and features of the DCM6. It's a cardioid mic with a neodymium magnet. Is that how you say that? It has a fairly broad frequency response of 40 Hz to 18 kHz. It includes a big black clown nose that hides what looks like a mic basket off of one of their handheld dynamics. I'll demonstrate now. Yeah, it looks like somebody chopped a dynamic in half and stuck it in an SMB wannabe case. I mean, kind of looks cool like that, but pretty sure we should run it like this. With the preamp off, the impedance of the mic is 600 ohms, and with the preamp on, it's around 135 ohms, so more on that in a bit. Sensitivity is quoted at negative 52 dBV with the preamp unpowered and a hot, whopping negative 22 dBV with the preamp of the mic powered on. The build quality of the DCM6 is kind of unremarkable, but that's okay. I mean, it feels well put together, but it's not nearly as heavy as a Rode Podmic. I mean, this thing, you can really hurt somebody with this thing. This one, I mean, you're going to make them mad, but this is a killer. I don't know what this is. SE claims this mic does not need a pop filter or shock mount, and because of that, it should minimize any obstruction of the camera because it has a cleaner silhouette. And yeah, I mean, compared to these mounts with these yoke type things on them, this does look a lot cleaner. I dig it. The handling noise. It's not terrible. Not the best I've seen, but definitely not the worst. The XLR jack on the DCM6 is nice. It's gold plated and it's recessed in the mic body. I really dig that. I really don't like how Shure mounts these when you've got like the 2 screws that hold it in. I'm not sure how they're holding it in here, but it's internal, which I actually dig. The materials of the mic feel really, really nice. It's got a cute little badge on the side of it. Not as robust as a Podmic in build or feel, but not as lightweight feeling as the MV7. Okay, babbling on without the preamp on this mic is kind of silly when the whole point of the 6 is to use the preamp. So let's turn it on and see how it sounds. Okay, now we have the preamp of the DCM6 enabled, and I've dialed the gain on the interface back to about half. It's about 5 out of 10. This is about the lowest I've ever run my audio interface with a dynamic mic, and that should give me a very quiet noise floor, and I really like that. I can say that right away I'm noticing the bass is more full, but I'm also noticing the top end feels a little more etched. It could be my imagination, but I'm not sure. I reckon the bass boost is more of a function of the impedance drop from using the internal preamp on the microphone. But for giggles and grins, I've got the Fethead right here, and I'm really curious how this preamp sounds compared to this preamp. So I'm going to swap it out and we'll give it a go. Okay, now we're using good old Mr. Fethead, and this preamp is only 22 dB of gain compared to the 30 dB of gain that's built into the preamp on the DCM6. So I've had to turn the gain on my interface up appropriately. I was at 5 out of 10, and now I'm somewhere between 5 and 6 out of 10. Not a lot. That's still pretty low on my interface for a broadcast style dynamic microphone. Now, Fethead brags about its amp topology, claiming to have a double single-ended amp that provides loads of headroom. I looked it up. It's like a couple of transistors and some resistors. It's not that big of a deal, but it sounds nice on paper. I do think this preamp, though, does sound a little bit more laid back, a little bit smoother sounding, and I actually prefer it to the preamp inside of the DCM6. Now, I don't think the preamp on the DCM6 is something I couldn't work around with a little bit of EQ, but just, out of the box without any EQ, I actually like the Fethead a little bit better. But since most of the folks that buy the DCM6 are going to use the built-in preamp because that's the point, let's swap back to that and carry on with testing this microphone. All right, now we're back on the internal preamp of the DCM6. I am trying to match the levels as best I can. Let's do a quick test to see how this mic responds both on and off axis. This is me speaking into the DCM6 from the side. This is me speaking into the DCM6 from the back. And this is me speaking into the DCM6 from the front. Technical nonsense out of the way, let's compare the DCM6 to the most lust-worthy dynamic broadcast style microphone on the planet, the Shure SM7B. This mic costs over 4 times as much as this mic when you figure in a Fethead that you're going to want to have on there to run it. I will be reading from Moby Dick today, a book I was supposed to read in high school, but I never did. Call me Ishmael. Some years ago, never mind how long precisely, having little or no money in my purse and nothing particular to interest me on shore, I thought I would sail around a little and see the watery part of the world. It is a way I have of driving off the spleen and regulating circulation. Whenever I find myself growing grim about the month, whenever it is a damp, drizzly November in my soul, whenever I find myself involuntarily pausing before the coffin warehouses and bringing up the rear of every funeral I meet, and especially whenever my hypos get such an upper hand of me that it requires a strong moral principle to prevent me from deliberately stepping into the street and methodically knocking people's hats off, then I account it high time to get to the sea as soon as I can. Man, this guy sounds like he's got some problems, maybe some anger issues, some depression going on in there. I mean, somebody get this guy a Xanax. All right, let's test out the SM7B. I will apologize in advance, by the way, for not putting this on this stand, but it's just so much work, so bear with me. Call me Ishmael. Some years ago, never mind how long precisely, having little or no money in my purse and nothing particular to interest me on shore, I thought I would sail around a little and see the watery part of the world. It is a way I have of driving off the spleen and regulating the circulation. Whenever I find myself growing grim about the mouth, whenever it is a damp, drizzly November in my soul, whenever I find myself involuntarily pausing before coffin warehouses and bringing up the rear of every funeral I meet, and especially whenever my hypos get such an upper hand of me that it requires a strong moral principle to prevent me from deliberately stepping into the street and methodically knocking people's hats off, then I account it high time to get to the sea as soon as I can. All right, I never want to read Moby Dick again. Anyway, did you hear a $400 difference between this mic and the mic that we're currently on, the DCM6? I don't know. I mean, I do feel like this mic sounds a little smoother, but it costs $400+. It should. All right, let's do a quick plosive test of the DCM6. I'm going to do one facing the camera with the mic off axis and one staring into the mic like a moron. Here we go. Peter Piper picked a pick of pickled peppers. How many picks of pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick? Idiot mode. Peter Piper picked a pick of pickled peppers. How many picks of pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick? All right, so what do I think of the DCM6? First off, I think the build quality is above average, not as good as this. This thing, again, is amazing for the price, build quality-wise. I do think this mic being on sale at $99, where it's normally $149, is a smoking deal. For a brand name mic and one that is as sensibly designed as this, I mean, that's great. How does it sound compared to its competitors? Compared to the gold standard SM7B, I'd say this is pretty close. The top end is definitely edgier and brighter on this mic without the extra pop filter on here. But would I normally spend $400 more on a difference that small? So if I was setting up for the first time, or I needed to get another mic for, say, a travel kit, would I go $400-ish on a real SM7B and on a bootleg, or go $99 or even $149 on this? I would probably do this. I'd rather put that money in other things like lights and things that will make my life easier. Sound-wise, I always felt the Podmic was a very hypey sounding dynamic mic, but I feel like this mic is kind of in the same vein, but it's a little more etched, and I actually don't know that I prefer it. I think I actually like the sound of this better once it's wearing the big goofy black clown nose of doom. I think a EQ on this mic obviously would clean it up a bit. And if you want to hear a demo of the DCM6 EQ compared to the Podmic EQ and maybe even the MV7 EQ, let me know in the comments and I'll put that together. The massive gain of this mic will give you a really low noise floor. So if you're sensitive to noise, this is going to be a great option for you. And, you know, it's, again, a much simpler option than using an external Fethead or Cloudlifter or whatever, say on the back of its cousin, the DCM3. I mean, having it all in one is just super convenient. So that's it for this mic review. If you found it helpful, then please tickle that like button and consider subscribing for my creator gear reviews. And until next time, have fun and make great content.